My name is Aiko, and I am 24 years old. I've been living the hikikomori life for the past few years in Kurashiki, a quiet town in Okayama Prefecture. It's the kind of place where nothing ever happens, until it does. Most days I stay in my room, where I work as a freelance writer. The internet is my world, and the outside is, well, too much. Don't get me wrong, I didn't plan to become a recluse. It's just sort of happened. The outside world is overwhelming. Too many people, too much noise, and way too many expectations. At home, I control everything. I feel like I control the spices, and I control the universe. I don't have to deal with the awkward conversations, busy streets, or the judgmental stares from people who don't understand why I prefer a small, cluttered room to the great outdoors. Plus, working from home means I can stay in my comfy pajamas and avoid the horror of corporate life. Speaking of horror, I can't imagine what it must be like to work as an office lady like my mom. Every morning she wakes up at dawn, squeezes herself into one of those ridiculously tight pencil skirts, a starched white blouse, and those impossibly thin, transparent pantyhose that look like they could tear just by breathing wrong. And don't get me started on those high heel shoes. Mom's been wearing those black pinchy shoes for years, and every time she comes home, she curses and complains about how they ruin her feet and posture. I honestly don't know how she does it, especially in winter when it's freezing, and all she has are those flimsy transparent black pantyhose to keep her legs warm. It's like corporate torture. If I had to wear that stuff every day, I'd probably set the office on fire, just so I don't have to go to work. Anyway, the town of Kurashiki is the kind of place that feels like time has stopped. There is nothing but old houses, quiet streets, and endless rice fields. It's charming in a way, but it can also feel stifling. Sometimes I wonder what it would be like to live in a big city like Tokyo. Tokyo. Sugoi na. But then I remember how crowded and chaotic that would be, and all that constant noise from the trains. Oh my god. And then I remember that I am content to stay hidden away in my room. Life here is simple, predictable. At least it was. Until everything changed. I mean, not really. If we're honest, nothing really changed. I'm still chilling in my room and continuing being hikikomori. I'm just making a post on Nii-chan to tell you about what happened to me a few years ago. Partly because I feel stressed today and I wish to vent. And partly because for them lulz. To feed the Nii-chan trolls, I guess. You figure out which is it. So anyway, here goes. I wasn't involved, of course. I mean, obviously. But it happened close enough that I couldn't help but hear about it. The whole thing started in May 2021. There is this woman, Natsuki Saito, who lives a few blocks down from us. I don't know her personality, but I'd seen her around. Young, maybe in her mid-20s. Like me, but with a baby to take care of. Thank God I dodged that bullet from what I overheard, because let's be honest, people love to gossip. She wasn't doing too well. She had no job, a newborn to support, and on top of everything, she was using drugs to cope. Desperation does strange things to people. And thus Natsuki, in her infinite wisdom, came up with this ridiculous plan to scam some local guys who wanted to buy marijuana. The idea was simple. She'd pretend to sell them some weed, but instead She and her low-life friends Tomo and Daiichi would just take their money and run. Easy, right? Yeah, this be a routine lick, dog. Except she asked them to bring neither big nor small amount of yen. 130,000. Let that sink in for a second. 130,000 yen for weed. Converted to a more understandable currency, that's what? 888 USD? Or something around 800 euro? This is obscene. For weed. Who in their right mind pays that much for a few blunts? It was beyond ridiculous, and I can't believe anyone fell for it. I mean, weed is illegal here, of course, yes, but it's not that special. Anyway, the two buyers showed up that night at the designated spot. They thought it was going to be a simple exchange, cash for some weed, and a handsome amount of cash indeed. But when they got there, Natsuki had already set the trap. Two cars blocked their way, and Natsuki hid in one of them, letting her partners in crime do the dirty work. Tomo, who thought he was some kind of gangster, Al Capone look-alike, pulled out an airsoft gun, and Daiichi, not to be undone by his comrade's bravado, waved a knife at them. Two buyers didn't even get a chance to ask for their weed before they were robbed. I'd like to say during broad daylight, but I think this happened during night time. Anyway, Tomo and Daiichi took a phone from one of the guys and a wallet from the other. Inside the said wallet was about 200,000 yen in cash, plus credit cards and IDs. After the robbery, they hightailed it out with Natsuki, thinking they just pulled off the perfect crime. They even tossed the wallet, minus the cash of course, into some bushes downtown, like that would cover their tracks. I guess they assumed the buyers wouldn't go to the police. Maybe they thought, who's going to report a robbery over weed? But they were wrong. Of course the victims went straight to the cops, and it didn't take long for the police to track down Natsuki and her friends. Our quiet little town suddenly became a scene of a major crime investigation, with officers questioning neighbors, including my mom. She didn't know much, just that she'd seen Natsuki around. Meanwhile, I stayed in my room, not wanting to get involved in any of this. Within days, the police raided Natsuki's house. They found her friends, Tomo and Daiichi as well, and they found something else too. Turns out they had more weed stashed at Natsuki's place. So now it wasn't just robbery, they were facing drug possession and distribution charges as well. Daiichi, the knife-wielding idiot, ended up getting sentenced for 3 years. Well, kind of. The court took pity on him because he claimed he was taking care of his sick mother. He cried tearfully and begged for a lighter sentence, and the judge reduced his time to just 9 months. He even gets to serve the rest of his sentence on probation, as long as he doesn't screw up for the next 2.5 years. Oh, and he has to get a job, which for someone like him is probably the worst punishment imaginable. Natsuki didn't get off so easy. She tried to play the victim, saying she was a struggling mother and that Tomo and Daiichi had pressured her into the crime. She insisted that she is the real victim here. She cried in court too, but for some reason the judge wasn't having it. But she also got a suspended sentence, and she was warned that if she so much as touched drugs again, she'd be going straight to prison. So, yeah, As for Tomo, well, he's still in jail. I'm guessing he won't be out for a long time. It's funny in a twisted way. Here I am stuck in my room, avoiding life, while a few blocks away, people are playing out some low-budget crime drama. And for what? A ridiculously overpriced bag of weed? It's almost too stupid to be real. But that's Kurashiki for you. Quiet, peaceful, until something like this happens and shakes up the whole town. In the end, life goes on. The streets are still quiet. The rice fields still stretch on forever. And my mom still leaves for work every morning in her stiff office lady uniform, while I sit here staring at the same four walls, wondering if anything will ever change. And you know what? I kinda hope it doesn't. After the trial, my mom had a lot to say about the whole thing. She came home one evening, still in her office lady outfit, looking exhausted. She sat down at the table with a deep sigh, rubbing her feet as she started talking about the crime. I can't believe someone like Natsuki would do something so stupid. She ranted, shaking her head. She's a mother, for crying out loud. What kind of example is she setting for her child? My mom ranted. I nodded, listening as she continued to rant on. That poor baby will grow up without a decent role model. And for what? Some quick cash? It's pathetic. I don't care if she was depressed. It doesn't excuse what she did. She paused, thinking for a moment. You know, they should have given her a real sentence, something to make her understand the consequences of her actions. Suspended sentence? What a joke. She needs to be punished properly in order to take a real responsibility for what she did. Not just the robbery, but for being involved with drugs in the first place. I knew Mom wasn't the type to go easy on anyone, but her disappointment in Natsuki ran deep for some reason. You know what's even worse? My mom continued. This could have been avoided. If she had just reached out for help instead of turning to drugs, none of this would have ever happened. There are support programs for single mothers, for people struggling with depression. But instead, she chose the worst possible path. Mom was right, of course. If Natsuki had asked for help, if she tried to find a way out instead of falling deeper into her own mess, maybe things would have been different. Maybe that baby wouldn't grow up with a mother who's a criminal. Not just criminal, a convicted felon. That's the problem with people like her, my mom continued, leaning back in her chair. They think they're trapped, that there's no way out, but there always is. You just have to be strong enough to take it. She wasn't. And you know what? Y'all need some good old-fashioned discipline. That's what you need, my mom said as I started to laugh. As I sat there listening, I couldn't help but think about how different things could have been for Natsuki. How different things could be for anyone, really.
Been a general for 15 years. Now I'm taking orders from a pup. This core hull outfit's a mess. Y'all need some good old-fashioned discipline. That's what you need. What? Well, I haven't got all day.